Today we talk about cycling group rides. Hello legends and super legends, welcome to Veloharmony. In today's video I want to talk about the pros and cons of group rides. But before I get into that, I wanted to commemorate the passing a year ago this week of former champion Felice Gimondi of Italy. This is the jersey that Rafa made in his honor years ago. He was known as the Phoenix, and it has his race number on the jersey as well. One of my favorite jerseys. The reason why I thought about incorporating his memory in this video is because all the top champions trained alone for the most part, or with a few other like-minded champions. So, do you really need a group ride? There are pros and cons to either concept. One thing, what I want to start with is a lot of people have been asking me questions about, I went to do a group ride and they dropped me and I was demoralized and blah, blah, blah. Well, that will only happen if you don't have a plan. Never go to a group ride unless you've prepared ahead of time and you know exactly what the purpose of that ride is. Because if you just show up for the fast group ride and you have not been training, you will be dropped. You don't really learn a whole lot. You just learn that, it confirms that you're out of shape. So don't do that. Focus more on preparing, just like you would do for an event, whether it's a grand fondue or whatever. You would prepare, get your miles in, and then you go do the event. So you want to treat the fast group rides like that. Now, if it's a cafe ride, because every group ride is unique, then you can just show up because they're going to be stopping and it's just casual or whatever. But even those rides, depending on who shows up, they can plan to go slow and then things can change. So don't take that to heart, because if your goal is just to go socialize, then you don't care what happens. But let's talk more about the questions that people have asked. There's a video I made, I will put the link here, about how much cycling you need to do to lose weight. And people will come to the channel and post questions like, I'm riding blah, blah, blah kilometers per week. Is that enough? No one can tell you what's enough. What you need to focus on is consistency and you figuring out what's enough for you, because you're the one who changed your lifestyle to gain the weight. So you need to change your lifestyle enough to lose the weight. That's what it comes down to. And in order to do that with a sport like cycling, you must focus on effort, because our sport, you can cheat. Going downhill, you can just be going fast and not doing any work, or with a tailwind. And that's the reason why a lot of riders will use heart rate monitors or power meters. You need to know how hard you're working. Quit worrying about speed. I get so many comments on the channel and sometimes directly from the website from people who, I got dropped and the group was doing 19 miles an hour or 23 miles an hour or 20. That doesn't mean anything, because the next day with a different situation, you might get dropped at the same effort, but the speed will be lower because you're going into the wind or uphill. So stop talking about speed. It doesn't mean anything. Focus more on saying that I got dropped and I was in this zone, or I was at this power level. If you got power meter, if you don't have power meter, you can say, I felt like my breathing was about to change when I got dropped. Then we know you're at threshold, if you're riding by feel. But I'm saying all of this to drive you to the point that you need a plan. Don't just think that you're just going to get on your bike and go ride and become a champion. It doesn't work like that. You got to have focus. Because if you have a plan, then when you get up in the morning, you're going to say, okay, today I'm doing this, so I'm going to hook up with that group. Or today I'm doing this, so I'm going to ride by myself. Or today I'm doing this, so I'm going to use that route. Circle back. This week, I'm out riding in the middle of the week. And on the way back, I came across 3 riders that ride with Team RR on the weekends, and they hailed me. They were at a light and I was turning right. So I kind of soft pedaled and waited for them. And so they caught up. It was in the middle of the week around Wednesday, I believe. And then they said, by the way, we're riding to Huntsville. Huntsville is an area we've been to. Paul and I rode there one time. We're riding to Huntsville on Friday. Why don't you join us? It'd be great and blah, blah, blah. Well, that didn't fit my plan. I already have a plan for my whole week as far as just my life and my training and whatever else I do. And you should too. So I respectfully declined, and then they continued to try to sell me on this ride. And one of them said, you don't want to ride with us retirees. Well, that's nothing to do with that. I know that if I did a 6-7 hour ride, which is how long it would take to ride to Huntsville and back from where we live, on Friday, I may not be recovered enough to do my 6-7 hour ride on Saturday or my 5-hour ride on Sunday. So it's kind of like having a race the next day and going out and riding for 8 hours the day before. That doesn't even make any kind of sense. So they had their plan and that was their schedule. I didn't need to change mine just to ride with them. Because for the most part, unless their ride had fallen on a day that I had planned to do a long ride, it wasn't a ride for me. You're not going to get any better adhering to someone else's schedule. Get your own schedule. Get your own plan. I cannot stress that enough. So you want to get in shape? Remember that most, if not all, of the champion racers today and in the past, they do their main training alone. When they hook up with a group, it's because the group meets their plan. That means like when we were doing the speed work series where we did a few rides with Mo's group, they used the group to gain some kind of benefit according to what they had already planned. We rode with them to work on some speed work and some intensity. That's what we did. We didn't go ride with them when we were out of shape doing base work. Keep that in mind. So you need to have a plan. You need to have structure. You need to have focus. And if you don't have a plan, click on this link, get one. We have plans for DIY people who want to train on your own. And you definitely, if you don't have your threshold and your threshold figured out, you need that to derive your zones. If you don't, there is also a link there for you to get your threshold test done so you can derive your zones. Without those, when you head out the door, you might as well be riding blindfolded or be lost at sea, because without focus, you're not going to get there. You're just going to flounder around. Okay? So focus more on what your goals are. Then you won't worry about who passes you when you're riding. You won't worry about who rides away from you when you're riding, as long as you're on target. To that effect, let nothing stop you from getting your K's in.